IVM.
Welcome to FinTalks at Bob World. This is a show powered by Bank of Baroda, and it is our exploration into the fintech ecosystem in India. On the occasion of Bank of Baroda's 114th Foundation Day, we thought it would be interesting to talk to some of the pioneers in the startup ecosystem and their march into future. I am Akhil Handa, Chief Digital Officer at Bank of Baroda, and I lead the digital banking strategy, the digital banking, payments, lending part, as well as the fintech and new business initiatives. So naturally, this conversation is a very interesting one for me. On our first episode, we are in conversation with Jiten Gupta. Jiten has more than 16 years of experience in the banking and fintech space. He founded LazyPay and PayU and has also founded Citrus Pay earlier. Before that, he was with ICICI Bank for 7 years. So he is quite an authority in the payments and fintech ecosystem in India. So welcome, Jiten.
Thanks, Akhil.
Thank you. Look, you've done so much in such a short order of time, and you've seen a great 2 cycles of the development of the Indian fintech ecosystem. So let's start with what the big trends are as you see them right now.
Sure, Akhil. So, Akhil, first of all, I must say the 10-year by no means is a short time. It's been a long time. I've been in the ecosystem. And in fact, my previous background was also in the banking like you have. So all in all, 18 years in the financial services world. But when you ask for the trends, I think I've seen kind of a very interesting journey in last 10 years. So we all started in fintech with this whole belief of unbundling the inefficiencies of banking. And this is where I personally started into the payments and then did bit of stint into the lending through LazyPay. And I think that thesis was that if you do one thing really well, you can actually sort of create a scalable business model out of the which banks are not focusing much because it is too small thing for them and they are meant to do bigger things. But I think the trend has changed in last couple of years specifically, where the aspirations of fintech companies have become bigger. Now fintech companies themselves see collaborating and competing with banks and collaborating in the sense where the collaboration is extending not only to the monoline businesses but to the multi-line businesses. Like the same company would be collaborating on deposit side or the lending side or the investment side or the FD and RDs and all of those kind of stuff. And the same company would be competing with the bank on the deposit side or the lending side and all of that as well. And I think fintechs, in my view, have realized over period that if you really want to create a long-term relationship with the customer, you got to do more than one thing, because this is what banks are good at. They provide the breadth of financial services to the customer. And that's the relationship which banks have been able to establish really, really well. So, and fintechs, in my view, after a decade have understood the importance of it. And now they are sort of moving towards it. So that's the recent trend which I see, which is evolving into the fintech ecosystem.
Perfect. I've also seen the same, over a period of last 5 to 6 years, I've seen more and more fintechs and banks collaborate, and now it is becoming table stakes. And, now both sides kind of have come to an arrangement that, look, it's good that the bank should have fintechs as part of their offering, and it just gives them that nice agility, and fintechs on their part feel that the banks currently, have the trust and the distribution to be able to take the product fast to market. So I completely agree with that thought. So let's come to your current venture now, and which is Jupiter. Why Jupiter? And B, what does Jupiter do?
So I think why Jupiter is an interesting name. So one, we are very sure that we want to be pure consumer-centric retail proposition. So from that standpoint, we wanted a name which consumers hears it once and then remember it forever. So I'm sure you won't forget Jupiter now. I think Jupiter, if you look at it, it has 2 significances. One significance in terms of is the largest planet in the solar system. So we have aspiration to be one of the large players in the financial services space. So it sort of resonates with that. Second is Jupiter in astrology is also a planet for wealth and prosperity. And so since we are into the business of money and wealth, so it sort of resonates with that. So that's the whole significance of the word Jupiter. I think what it does, so what we are trying to do is that we are trying to bring in the whole a feature bank account converting into a smart bank account. I would say it that way. And in that, what I mean by that is that today, if you look at the bank account or the banking app or the banking interfaces, typically a one-way interaction with a consumer, where a consumer typically does two action items with the bank account. One is checking the balance, and second is making the transfers. And I think when consumer looks at their finances, they look at the finances more from a holistic perspective rather than just a bank account. And this is where we saw the opportunity, where we saw that what if we bring all the finances together? While bank account is an integral part of the finances, but what if we bring all the finances together at one place for the consumer and make the whole experience more and more personalized and contextual rather than a push way of giving the product to the consumer? So I think that's been the overall proposition which we are trying to bring to the market.
Great. And are you already live, or you planning to do the first drop soon?
So Akhil, we went live 3 weeks back.
Oh, congratulations.
We in fact launched our first list campaign 6 weeks back. We got like more than 70K consumers on the wait list now. So we are really thrilled with the kind of love consumers are giving us. As we speak, we opened few thousand accounts in last 10 days. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey. We are learning from our journey in terms of what consumers are liking. We're doubling down there, fixing few glitches, completing the product. So it's super early days.
Sure. No, I'd love to get on that waitlist as well and experience the journey and hopefully learn a few things from there.
I'll send you direct access, Kiran.
Thank you. Thank you very much. There are a lot of entrepreneurs listening to you. They for sure can benefit from your experience. So what would be a couple of pieces of advice that Jiten would like to give as a fintech entrepreneur in the Indian banking ecosystem today to the guys who are just starting out and have Jupitorial ambitions?
So I think when I look back my journey and look back at my experiences, I think a couple of advices I would give while I'm still proving myself to give advice. But the couple of advices, one, I would say that the stay put for long is the number one thing, because what happens in a startup journey, you often come across with various bumps, you come across with various hassles, hurdles, challenges, some team member leaving, or some partner not aligning with you, or some deal you're losing, or some funding getting delayed. So all of this will keep happening, and if you sort of give up at that moment, you are kind of doing injustice to yourself. So staying put for longer and keep navigating the challenges is the number one advice I would give to anyone in any sector. Second is go after the large market and opportunity rather than a very small market. And the reason is that it gives you the opportunity to make mistakes. And it gives you the opportunity to make mistakes without worrying about somebody else might win. So like a fintech or financial services as an industry is so large that even 100 players, in my view, can sustain. Like you look at it, there are 70 plus banks, and all of the banks are doing really well in the retail side at least. So, and they're making real money. And there are like 20 plus insurance companies. There are like 50 plus asset management companies. So financial services is such a large space that you don't need to worry that, oh, if I don't get 80% market share, I'll fail. Even if you get 3% market share, you'll still succeed and meaningfully succeed. These are the couple of advices which I would give to anyone.
Great pieces of advice, Jiten. I think this is very useful. And staying put, I think, seems to be the right piece of advice for any entrepreneur, fintech or otherwise. So fantastic. Now, let's move to the other part, which is creating real excitement in the ecosystem, and that is the flow of capital. And of course, in the recent past, we've seen public markets open up to scaled fintech companies or even otherwise, digital ecosystem companies that have now scaled and become very large and are accessing public markets. And also, I think just looking at some numbers, there are now 52 unicorns in the country. We believe that it can be 100 unicorns and stuff. So you get the idea, right? I mean, there's a lot of capital flowing in. There's a lot of excitement. Are we entering a territory of slightly unjustified expectations, if not valuations?
I think there are mixed views. And maybe being an entrepreneur, I'm on the optimist side. My optimism says that maybe it's a timing difference in terms of forming the perception. So, from a timing standpoint, I can clearly see the whole digital ecosystem has started evolving in India in last 2 or 3 years. I would thank to UPI. I will thank to Jio, who made the whole internet penetration so well in market like India, and the superb connectivity. So I think the whole ecosystem has started. I would say has come from infancy to may not be the adult stage, but to the kid stage where you need to make investments now to reap the rewards in next 10 years. But yes, the perceptions today is that are we pushing too much money into the ecosystem? But to develop the habits or to create large businesses, I think the kind of investments one need to make are also large. So my optimism says that even the 10x capital comes into this country of what we are seeing today, that can be consumed as well, considering the size of the opportunity. Look at China, look at Brazil, look at in Indonesia for that matter. Kind of market opportunity which we are seeing, like those markets have seen in last 10 years, is phenomenal. And they have sort of the reason they could grow the companies there because they had access to capital at the right time. And I think we are in a similar stage today, in my view.
Sure. And I'm hearing comments like it's very easy to get 10 times the capital in a tenth of time than what we used to get about a few years back. And is that something that you're experiencing yourself?
Oh yeah, I mean that is a fact that capital raising has become easier now, which was not the case earlier. But I think, as I said, it's factor of the opportunity and the timing. So I have no complaints with the kind of capital available in the country.
For sure, great time to be an entrepreneur. So that's the good story. Now let's talk about the hardships as well. And I remember Vijay saying at one point in time, "Yes, I've been an overnight success, but what it took me was 14 years to become this overnight success." And so, what are the kind of barriers an entrepreneur needs to face today? And we can probably just focus on fintech. Is it more domain? Is it more regulatory? Market access? Capital seemingly is not a challenge anymore. So, what would be some of the key barriers that you think an entrepreneur needs to be mindful of and needs to surmount?
I think I would not say barriers, but I would say that the bar has gone higher for anyone to be successful or for anyone to make any significant scale. The bar has gone higher in the sense the talent availability. As you said at the start of your call, there are 53 unicorns, which means they're super well funded. And when you are starting up now with 10, 20 million, it's very difficult to compete for talent with those unicorns. So talent is one big challenge, especially the engineering and data science talent. The second is, I think, the consumer's expectation in terms of the product. And I still remember the Citrus day one. I would say our product was not best of the looking product, but still it got adoption because we did a pretty good job in the reliability of the service. Now, consumers' expectation have gone higher, where it's not about just reliability. They want the best looking product as well on day one. Otherwise, they will not accept your product. So that is the second part. And the third part is, especially in fintech, the ecosystem, the financial services ecosystem, banks or insurance companies or the wealth management companies, I think they have also realized that digital is the way. They have also realized what consumer is expecting. So they have also changed gears. They are no more just sitting back and saying that, okay, we'll figure it out later. Now, like you look at yourself, your role is to transform the Bank of Baroda digital offering, right? So I think the banks have changed gears like anything, and which means, which is the point again, like the bar has gone higher. So it's no more about you can do a average job, or you can do a slightly more than average job and you will be winner. You won't be winner. You got to do exceptional job to compete with banks. And last thing I would say from a regulatory standpoint, while the regulator has given enough leeway in terms of the whole regulations and support, but I think they also become stringent when it comes to how you deal with customers, how you deal with the customers' data, the privacy, the service standards. So they also become very, very demanding. So overall, in every respect, the bar is so high that you got to do 10 on 10 on every respect, in every respect. Otherwise, you can't win in this market.
Right. So I was just relating to the 3 points that you enumerated: talent, customer expectations, and regulatory demands. And I was just thinking to myself that these three hold true for bank of our scale as well. And it's just absolutely the same. And if I think about it, and I think the regulator of course is also focusing on some of these things for the right reasons, and it's very evident. Otherwise, we do run a risk of turning things into a wild west. And I think given that where we are in the ecosystem and the maturity of the customers as well, it's necessary that there are certain controls that are put. Otherwise, everybody will be on the losing side. So I think these are really enablers as far as I see. Great. Now, in terms of market, the market opportunity. Now, I don't know if you saw it, a couple of years back, Economist had laid out this article saying that the number of actual consumers in India, who have the paying capacity and the paying power, is quite limited. And ever since there have been iterations of the same number, and I've seen that overall the market seems to be about peaks at about 100 million as we speak, right? So the best case scenario is 100 million. So 10 crore customers really have the paying capacity to have discretionary spends and get the products and services which wade into the digital economy. And there are multiple ways of arriving at this number, but looks like everybody seems to be converging at this number as we speak. Is this also your own experience, and do you believe this is the market, or do you think the market is a lot larger than this? And B, in terms of your own TG, what is your TG? Is your TG is the young customer, or is it, because banking typically the TG also happens to be around a middle-aged customer, right?
Yeah, sure, Akhil. So Akhil, I think you're right in terms of the TG, which on the internet where you can actually monetize is like ballpark 90 to 100 million consumers. So I think that's a very right assessment. That being said, the way I look at it, this TG was 10 or 15 million 10 years back. We have seen 10x growth in last 10 years. And I remember still that when I was making my investment presentation in 2014 to few investors, they were talking about the number of 25 million. And they were like, 25 million customer base, even if you do very well, you will have like 3, 4, 5 million customers. Is there a meaningful business which can be built in next 10 years? The India, to reach 100 million, it will take 20 years. And I think we have seen it other way now. Within next 5 years, we reach 100 million customers. So this stage is expanding fast. And as I keep saying, as more people have access to smartphone and internet, this TG will keep on growing because people's aspiration to consume better products, better service have reached to a different level, which was not there earlier, which was like, it's okay, I can get the goods from the things nearby, or I'm okay compromising. Now people don't want to compromise. People want best, everything best for themselves. So I think that is that's the right assessment. Now your second question, that what is the TG for Jupiter? I think at a holistic level, the TG for Jupiter is every smartphone consumer. Because that is where our offering fits in well. But in any startup, you first go very, very targeted cohort, and then you try to expand the cohort. So our cohort in the initial days is more focused on the young salaried consumers who are typically the first job, second job salaried guys. Age group, I would say 22, 23 to 30, 32-year-old consumers. So I think that's where we feel our adoption would be faster and easier compared to if I go to a 40-year-old guy and tell him that or tell her that why don't you change your bank and change your EMI obligations, change your bill payments, and it's super difficult to convince. But you can actually influence those consumers once you have a million or 2 or 3 million consumers and they show their behavior saying that, oh, this is the new way, this is the best way. And then people feel, oh, what am I missing, and why not I move into that? So I think that's how we are hoping to make the change.
Perfect. So, lastly, I have to ask you this. You've been associated with Bank of Baroda in one fashion or the other, and of course, PayU is one of them. How's your experience been with Bank of Baroda?
So I must say it's been one of the fantastic experience. I have been working with Bank of Baroda as a partner since 2013. So in my last two ventures, and it's been one of the super experience. And of all the PSUs I have dealt, I must say Bank of Baroda has been one of the prominent public sector bank, which is super progressive. And I think I think I've known you for last 5 years, right? And having seen the way you represent Bank of Baroda, the way you're driving the digital initiatives, I think it's commendable. From I would not expect it generally from a public sector bank perspective, but I think you guys are operating similar to a private sector bank, so which is pretty commendable.
Great. No, that's great to hear, Jiten. In fact, we're also doing some very exciting things that are underway, and hopefully, in a few days and weeks, you'll hear more from us on some of the things that we're doing. I'm sure there'll be opportunities to collaborate on Jupiter with the bank. At some point, we have a sizable international presence. So whenever you decide to make in India and sell everywhere, I'm sure we can partner with Jupiter for that as well. So fantastic, Jiten. This has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you for taking the time out of what I know is a holiday right now. And I saw the tweet on Thar. I hope Thar is taking care of your bumpy rides there.
Yeah, that's been super nice experience.
So great. So that's all, folks. Thank you for tuning in. This was FinTalks at Bob World, presented by Bank of Baroda, India's international bank. Hope this series is of help to everyone that tunes in. So do get us in touch with us and send us feedback and suggestions as to what you'd like us to cover in future episodes. That's it for now. I'm Akhil Handa, and this has been FinTalks with Bob World. Thank you very much.
I hope you enjoyed that show. Let me tell you a little bit about what happened on the IVM Podcast Network this week. On Cyrus Says, Cyrus was joined by Irfan Pabani, who is an old friend of his. They talk about the rich flavors of Indian food and Parsi food specifically. He was also joined by author and historian William Dalrymple. They discuss literature, history, and the culture of the Indian subcontinent. And let me give you a few quick things to check out. Chuck, aka Deepak Gopal Krishnan of Simplified and the Origin of Things Frame, has Rohan Joshi, formerly of AIB, on his show. Also on this round is on me. Gautam Purohit of Thakur's Bhojnalaya was on. On the note, Maruk and I talks about the cabinet reshuffle. And do check out Global Victoria Tech Talks. We talk about the booming gaming and edutech industries in Australia. Do follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram to keep up what's going on the network. And I'd like to finally thank our sponsors on the network this week, Cred, Ciet, and Global Victoria. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Hi, I'm Zarina Poonawalla, host of the Empowering Series podcast on the IVM network. I happen to be a peak performance coach and leadership coach by profession, and I'm here to share with you productivity tools, life-altering techniques, and real-life hacks to help you achieve your maximum potential in everything you do, your relationships, professions, careers. So tune in every Monday to unleash your inner power. Be safe, be well, be empowered.